Hello, I filmed my video on Vernet's Crystal Thief here in my office, in my library, and one viewer, Hugo Black, commented on the books behind me and suggested that I do a video about my book collection. I thought, yeah, that's an interesting idea, so here it is. I have many books of all sorts in my library, but I've chosen a few from my occult and magic section to talk about. But I've also many historical and reference books that I refer to, give me ideas or can confirm locations and facts. So, we really need to start with the book that propelled me down the path to my haunted house nights, and which ultimately led to me becoming a manufacturer and dealer in bizarre magic through black artifacts. That book, of course, was Spirit Theatre by the late, great Eugene Berger. So this is it, Spirit Theatre. I purchased this, I think it was at a sale at the British Magical Society. I was already interested in strange and bizarre, well, I wouldn't call it bizarre then, different magic than the normal conjuring, but I really hadn't heard about bizarre magic then, and this book was the book that propelled me exactly down the lines that I went with the haunted house nights and then on to black artifacts. Indeed, it was not long after I purchased this book that I actually came across Harborne Hall, which was our first haunted house, and having seen Harborne Hall, it evoked everything that I thought about when reading the book, and I thought, well, I've just got to do a haunted house night. But the first part is about the actual seances, the haunted house nights or hauntings that Eugene presented, and this is written, the bit I'm going to read you, by someone who went to one of his hauntings. It's a dark rainy night, just perfect for ghosts, goblins, spooks and a seance with Eugene Berger, medium rare. The husky, bearded Berger, who has spent 25 years as a philosopher, historian and psychic investigator, slowly opens the creaky door of his ancient 3-storey frame home at 210 Main Street, Evanston. He rubs his hands together and with a benign smile he leads the band of 15 across the dimly lit foyer to the dusty stairs that lead to the dark attic. Mr. Berger, whose long curly hair grazes the collar of his dark smock, is all ready to start in his Spirit Theatre Company's production of Hauntings, or Do You Believe in Ghosts? Wow, that really conjured up images in my mind of that evening, and when I came across Harborne Hall I thought, that's it, I've just got to do it. Now, the next big point in here that absolutely hit home and has since directed all my thoughts about the performance of bizarre magic. In the pages that follow, you will discover, amongst other things, that I believe that such performers, what such performers need is not what many magical readers seem to want. Many, too many, amateur magicians are primarily looking for new tricks. Yet what performers need is to learn to present the tricks that they already know. To perform magic successfully before the public, one needs to learn to present it in ways that are entertaining, whether in a humorous and fun way or in a deeply mysterious way. The fact is that when magical performances cease to be entertaining, that is, theatrically viable, they lose the greater part of their charm their impact and their power. Magic is reduced to mere tricks. Well, if you've watched any of my videos, then you know that's exactly my point. We aren't performing tricks. We're giving an experience, entertaining, but it's an experience. We don't do tricks. Right. Now, where's the right? Okay. Yeah. And here's another thing that has resonated with me all through. I'll put it this way: the quality of any magic performance dramatically increases if the performer works to attain the following goal. And in capital letters, italics for emphasis, a written script for every effect. Sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? It is. It will repay your effort, however, far more than equal time spent practicing any number of sleights or moves, which, regardless of how much time you spend on them, still will be perceived by your audience of sleight of hand manoeuvres. The audience may not know what you did, but they do know you did something, and the magical quality of the proceedings begins to droop. That is why when I sell my effects, everyone has a story and a script, a performance written down. You can vary it, you should vary it and make it your own, but that is so important. I always do a written script for every effect. It goes on to explain more about this and say how it's really useful, but that was absolutely bang. That was a bullet point that really hit home. Now, a bit later in the book, because he talks about the effects that they did and gives various effects, and about his dark science, the boar, which is on a tent pole here. I used this, I actually used an expanding or telescopic fiberglass fishing rod for a similar effect. On the end of it, he's got a cloth sleeve with wire coating and a little golf ball with luminous paint, but I put a lightweight lady's scarf on it. Now this was using the dark seance, so no one could see this. By then it was absolutely totally dark, you could not see anything, and I would quietly extend the pole, and then I would say that a demon had come into the room, an evil spirit, and by whipping the fishing rod over the heads of the audience, you get this sound like really like leathery wings flapping, and in the dark you can't see it, but it really did sound like it. And the silk or the scarf on the end, I'd lower it down and then just slightly touch people's heads, and suddenly something touched them in the dark. Really good effect. So that was another thing that I took from this. But the main things were the philosophy of how I came to present bizarre magic and how I came to do the haunted house nights. Because I tell you, having read that book and then finding Harborne Hall, it was serendipitous. The two things just went together. So that's it. This is number one. This is what started me on it. Spirit Theatre by Eugene Berger. Incidentally, later I found out that one of the residents of Harborne Hall from 1868 until 1883 was a Charles Joseph Hart, who lived from 1851 to 1925. A relative, perhaps? What do you think? The next one I'd like to share with you from my collection is another Eugene Berger book, The Experience of Magic. They're a brilliant book, fantastic content, absolutely marvellous, but this is what makes it so appealing, so valuable to me. I bought this in 1996 at the meeting of the Mages, which Gordon Astley and I organised, and it was the first bizarre magic convention to be held in the UK. We invited Charles Cameron down to be our star guest, and we had a sort of marketplace where people could bring things and buy and sell, and I bought this book, and when I opened it I was absolutely blown away to find out that it was signed by Eugene Berger, and it had belonged to Tony Doc Shields. To Tony Doc Shields, warmest wishes to a true wizard, Eugene, Chicago, November 1989. Fabulous. So it had been owned by Doc Shields, signed by Eugene Berger. And I got Charles Cameron to sign it for me. And he said, to the Black Hart, a true wizard in the real style, Charles Cameron, Demon. So, and to be mentioned on the same page as Doc Shields and the great Eugene Berger was such a thrill for me. So this is why it's very, very, very valuable and important to me. So that's Experience of Magic by Eugene Berger. Well, next, would you believe it, a couple more books by Eugene Berger, but these are a bit different really, and as special as any of the others. There are two, From Beyond and Final Secrets. These were both published with the express wish of Eugene after his death. Now, it's explained, they're published by Lawrence Hass, written by him jointly with Eugene Berger in collaboration. In early February of 2010, Eugene called and asked if I had a few minutes to talk. Usually when I answered the phone, Eugene would just start in, so I knew something was up. And it was because he went on to ask if I would publish a book after he had died that would share all of his unpublished materials. And that's what these two books are. Wonderfully illustrated by J. Fortune. All sorts of things in there, effects, secrets that he never gave when he was alive, but he didn't want them to go to his grave with him. So that was a lovely thought really. The second one, Final Secrets, I bought both of these books when they were published. Beyond was published in 2019 and Final Secrets was published in 2021. And so I've had them since then, and this Final Secrets is the last of Eugene's works. Very poignant really, because I've enjoyed his writing so much, and I read through the book as far as section 3, workshops, and I've had this book since it was published, but I haven't read the last part yet. I can't bring myself to read it because I know when I've read it, that's it. There are no more. There's nothing else coming from Eugene. Now, I read his books and you can read them time again because the information and the philosophy within can be absorbed time and time again. But I just can't bring myself to finish this one. Am I right? Am I wrong? Should I finish it? Should I just read it? If I don't, how long do I leave it? I don't know. Perhaps you'd like to comment. What do you think? Should I read it? Should I leave it? So, From Beyond and Final Secrets. That's the last of the two books in my Eugene Berger collection that I'm going to talk about. Right, away from my Eugene Berger collection, and this is a book I think you might be surprised to find in the collection of the Black Hart. Mark Wilson's Cyclopedia of Magic, a complete course. And as you can see from the book, it's actually pretty well thumbed, so I do refer to this. And I refer to this when I'm thinking of a method, looking for a method to do something for one of my effects. Really, really very basic book with lovely illustrations, nice and simple, really simple explanations and illustrations, which is great for me. And I turn to this before I go to any of the standard Magic Club card books. So you've got sections on card magic, self-working card tricks, great for converting into bizarre magic with tarot cards. Hindu shuffle. Now the Hindu shuffle is a really good way of shuffling tarot cards, because it doesn't look like the the riffle shuffles and the card sharps. Overhand shuffle tricks, glide tricks. Now I've used the glide in a couple of the effects that I've published. Forcing a card, double lifts, really interesting. Flourishes, no, don't do any of that. Money magic, well, I don't really do that, but it's definitely something that I'll turn to if I'm looking for some sort of method. Very simple, very good, and perhaps surprising to be in the Black Hearts collection. Another one, The Prince of Darkness, Radical Evil and the Power of Good in History. Yep, found this on the internet and bought it for my occult collection. Really interesting, all about Mephistopheles, the devil Satan in history. Now, what's particularly different about this book is when I opened it up, I found this inside. Someone had gone to the trouble to stick this illustration in front, 666, and a pentacle, the devil's face, and then further inside, this picture here that was stuck on, and this, His Satanic Majesty. You know, slightly creepy when I opened it, but of course that's just the sort of thing that I like. Well, that's really just scratching the surface, but I mean the video's getting, I could go on and on and on, but I think a couple of the books that may have been noticed in the background, I'll just briefly talk about those. This one here, Hellish Knell, very interesting, because it actually talks about, it's about one of the, I think the last trial for witchcraft that took place in the UK, and this was in 1944, and it's about Hellish Knell. Actually took place in 1944. It was the trial of Helen Duncan for witchcraft, and she was actually sentenced to 9 months in prison. So that book, interesting, good background, and of interest to scholars of the occult and witchcraft. And another one that you may have noticed, Satan's Mistress, which is all about Joanna Southcott and her lifelong battle with the devil. And the blurb on the back, Joanna Southcott's yearning to make her mark in the world was so strong that she inadvertently sold her soul to the devil. Oh, brilliant stuff. She would rather have given it to Jesus, but the devil persuaded her that the voices she heard were from God, and it was only on her deathbed that she realised she was not the bride of Christ at all, but the mistress of Satan. Brilliant. And that isn't fiction. This is actually a biography of Joanna Southcott. Interestingly, I don't know if you can see this from the front, so your eyes are in red, and then when you open it, they're not. That's interesting. But that's just another one of the books in my collection. I've got many others, books on the occult demonology, books on witchcraft, psychology, history, all books which are good to read and give you a flavour and a feeling of the occult, and for when you're thinking of scripts and stories for bizarre magic. And actually another one I'm going to mention now is my copies here of the Doomsday, well, not copies of the Doomsday Book, they are the Doomsday Book, but obviously not the original, that would be very expensive, but great for researching facts and looking back. Some of my books like and stories like Magpie are based on real places that existed in 1086 when the original Doomsday Book was compiled on the orders of William the Conqueror, who, and any English person will remember from school the date that William the Conqueror invaded, 1066, and this was compiled 20 years later on his instructions so that he could tax people. But anyway, that's just a very short glimpse, a short look at some of the books in my collection. I thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Bye.